organization is not its organizational chart. It is the reality of who communicates, who doesn't communicate, and what that flow is. That is really the value which comes out from an organization, that connectivity. Otherwise, there's no reason for it to exist. So I started to spend more time looking at media and the future of media, and this framework created in 2006. One of the primary issues is this symbiosis between mainstream media and social media. So each of them feeds on each other. This flows around together. So the social media, which has started to become part of our broad landscape, is absolutely relevant inside the organization as well as in the broader domain. Now, if we think about the future of media, or even the current world of media, it is essentially about infinite content. We have more and more supply where we have limited attention. So this world of infinite content, this world of media, is actually exactly what is happening inside organizations. So in fact, organizations are all media entities. What is happening inside them is they are creating messages, disseminating messages. People are making choices about what channels they tune into, their boss or their colleagues or nobody, and making decisions as a result of that. So understanding the world of media and where that's going is actually a very large part of understanding what the future of organizations is and how messages flow and disseminate. Now, after I'd written Living Networks, the term Web 2.0 was created to, I suppose, illustrate some similar context of how participation is really the fundamental of how things are created. And from the inputs which people have, all of the participation, people rating opinions, flowing through the mechanisms of Web 2.0 and creating value out of that. So for me, Web 2.0 is useful, and just for me, it is thinking about how participation creates value, how mass participation creates value, which in a way is exactly what an organization is. Has many people in it, they're all participating, so the key issue has to be how do you tap that participation to be able to create value. Now, taking us up pretty much to today, I think that there are really three driving forces that we must understand to say where organizations are going. The first one is pretty obvious in terms of the connected world. It's 15 years since the graphic web browser was invented. Just around then, mobile phones. I think most people in this room know, have experienced a time when organizations didn't have email. Yet that is absolutely transforming how organizations function, how we communicate, how they create value externally. The second key trend is more a social trend, and that is this broad trend is that as people, we expect more. We expect more for ourselves, we expect more for our planet, we expect more of our institutions, of governments, of corporations. We want better lives for ourselves and others. And this increasing expectations is a fundamental driver of our own participation in organizations and also what organizations are now becoming. And finally, there's a whole array of forces, including those two, which are leading to this absolute powerful drive to commoditization of virtually everything. Everything is being new competition, prices being driven down, and this is a real challenge. So overlaid with all of these other forces, this drive to commoditization. Now, out of this, it comes to this idea of enterprise 2.0, which we choose our buzzwords that we like or we use, and for me, enterprise 2.0 is useful and meaningful because it has two meanings. One is that application of Web 2.0 and social media inside organizations to create value and essentially the media organizations. And secondly, it is literally about creating the next version of the enterprise. Because if we look forward just 5 years from now, with those driving forces of commoditization, connection, greater expectations, most organizations today would not be effective in that world. There must be some real fundamental changes in how enterprises work. And so that is the challenge, is how do we create the next phase of organizations to be successful in what is absolutely a hyper-connected, hyper-competitive world. So in my recent book, recently launched book, Implementing Enterprise 2.0, looked at this framework of how to actually implement this. And really there's this cycle of activities which are required to create some real value in making this happen. Understanding the real drivers in a particular organization, because they differ across organizations, being able to create frameworks, particularly governance frameworks, to be able to make things happen. That supporting initiatives which are currently happening, finding pilots or ways of doing that, and being able to really drive this through the organization. But perhaps the most important thing about all of this is that this must iterate, you must experiment, you must learn lessons. There's no way of planning all of this from the start. You can only try things, see what works, see what doesn't work, and to build on that. So it's what I call the heuristic age. It is a world of trial and error. We must try things, we must experiment, we must make errors in order to be able to find what is going to work in this new environment. That's going to be different for every organization. So I have 4 organizations I founded myself, and I'm trying to experiment myself with reward mechanisms and how to tap people externally and so on in those organizations. And seeing many organizations, seeing the real divergence between those organizations that are experimenting and failing and succeeding on the other side of that failure, and those that are continuing doing what they are doing. Now, I think there's just 5 questions I'd like to close with on the future of the enterprise, and I've got some thoughts about those, but not necessarily some answers, but I think it's worth posing some of these questions. The first is, what are the structures that will enable capital to be allocated in the right way? We've seen that a smaller portion of the economy is now the public equity markets. We're seeing real challenges with the venture capital model. Yet there are still, vibrant ideas and potential and opportunities, and we absolutely are in the process of creating new ways of making money flow to where they should happen. There's more and more models we need to explore, saying this idea of the participation in value creation. And how do we reward individuals? Shoshana Zuboff, in her book, The Support Economy, said that all value resides in individuals. If we accept that, then we have to look at the enterprise of how do we actually reward and to bring on board that value in the enterprise to create something bigger than a single individual can create. And my next book is around the global talent economy, because now we have talent available globally. It is more and more accessible. It's more and more fungible. We are all available in various ways. So those that can best tap that global talent economy and get the best out of those people will absolutely succeed. And I think that is very much the field of play today. The role of reputation. So if it is a distributed world, the role of being able to understand reputation and know in advance some indication of what people think of the reputation of a potential supplier or business partner is, or employee, will absolutely facilitate this growth of distributed enterprise, this ability to create things beyond individuals. And I think the final question, which is a critical one, is how do we make work meaningful? How do we make it more than just the reward, which the people at Merrill Lynch will reward, the financial reward, but something which is meaningful to themselves, their family, the planet on which they live, and also something which taps the best of their potential. That is a utopia, that all of us are best able to draw out our potential, what we can do best through our work. We are very, very far away from that, but if we can start to move towards that ability to tap more of the potential of more of us, that is something worth doing. So my favorite quote is from James Cass, which is that finite players play within boundaries and finite players play with boundaries. And when we're looking at creating the future of the enterprise, which I think all of us here are today, that's our challenge, to be able to play with the boundaries to literally create the future of the enterprise. Thank you.